Hello everyone, and welcome to another Wicker Biscuit.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Biscuit Bakery. We keep baking up lots of goods for all of our listeners. Let's start things off with some introductions so you know who we have here.
Producer Lisa.
Hey, Lisa.
Ryan's here.
Hey, Ryan.
This is Carl.
Hey, Carl.
It's Amanda.
And Amanda.
Woo.
And then I'm your host, Gary. So welcome, everyone. So this week's episode, we're going to be diving into everything summer to celebrate the beginning of summer.
Diving in like a cool pool in the backyard or a summer stream.
I was picturing like the Kool-Aid man just bursting through a wall.
Oh,
Just being like,
yeah.
Exactly.
Does anyone remember Charkleberry Finn?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it
Yes.
tasted like, but I remember the
It was delicious.
Yes.
To this
Was it like pink? I don't remember.
like purplish,
Yeah.
Mm.
magenta-ish.
I'm probably
Adjacent.
remembering that wrong, but that's what I'm remembering.
To this day, I miss the Octo Coolers, man.
They had those.
I know
for a
they brought
while.
them back,
We
but
bought
then they
'em.
went away again. But I freaking loved those.
I have to say, I will say, we 90s kids had the best junk food.
You know, I'd have to agree with that. But I'd say even into the 80s, some of it was pretty good.
Oh,
But I'm
yeah.
still
But
agreeing
like,
with
but,
you, yes.
But we, like, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Those of us 80s, 90s,
Yep, I'm with
our
you.
age group, we had the best junk food.
Oh,
and it
totally
was like
with you.
celebrated.
Mhm.
It wasn't, you weren't shamed for having like, hey, we
I
got these great new fruit snacks. And like, that's the other thing. Our fruit roll-ups had fruit in them. So it was like, it was junk food, but it was like, but it's got fruit in it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so fat.
Same. No, because mine all stored somewhere in Connecticut. And then when I got
okay.
to be an adult, it was like, surprise, here you are, all the food you ate growing up.
Yeah.
Did y'all have ice cream trucks around here? Like,
No.
that go through the
Not
neighborhood?
really.
No.
See, we had that in the
We
city.
had
So,
a
like,
friend of ours drove the ice cream, like the bike
Like,
with the
yeah.
thing on the front for a
Oh.
while.
but we had it in the city, and it was awesome because, like, yeah, they'd come by, like, on the weekends, you know, during the
Mhm.
day.
Yep.
But it'd be like that early evening, and you'd just be, like, sitting out on your porch or your deck, and all of a sudden you just hear the music, and, like, everyone would run and try to gather in one spot, so, like, the truck would stop right there.
Courtney would be really happy to hear about you telling us country mice about your
Big
your
city again.
your big city with everyone having a porch and a deck.
I guess I don't really associate porches with cities, but
Shh. No, me either. But the way he said it, in the city, like
yeah.
in our city that we live in, we didn't have ice cream trucks, so we're like somehow a town.
Yeah.
We're a town now because we didn't
Wow.
have ice cream trucks.
Well, our first house in Eau Claire, where we lived, they did have an ice cream truck that would come to our neighborhood.
That's true.
So our
But
kid got to experience that.
That was much later.
Do you remember we worked with that one lady?
Mm-hmm.
And we worked with a lot of ladies, but worked with that one girl who lived by me.
Yeah.
And she told me one day, like, oh, the Schwann's guy came and he left a note on their door. So I went over and read it. I'm like, you're so weird. Just walk across the street to your neighbor's house to see what the Schwann's man note said.
That
Like,
was our version in the actual country of
Yeah,
the
the
ice
Schwann's
cream
van.
truck was the Schwann's truck.
Yeah.
That was some good stuff.
I get
Yes.
that. I get that. When Amanda and I went to the big city, in air quotes to the listeners, we went to
You
New York.
mean Amanda
Yeah.
in air quotes?
Amanda and I, when we went to New York, the first time we went together, she stopped at the ice cream, because they have ice cream trucks all over there, but they don't really go around. They just pick a spot
Well,
and
yeah.
park. It's like a food truck.
Yeah.
But it was Mr. Softy. And oh my God, it was the best fucking ice cream I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like
I love Mr.
fluffy and
Oh.
light, but somehow tastes like a chocolate covered donut. But
Yeah,
it's vanilla.
It's amazing.
oh.
It's
I
Wash
wish they-
down your slice of New York pizza.
I don't
and
know.
Yeah.
It was so freaking good.
Dog cart, you know.
Yeah, but then it became a tradition. Every time we go, I mean, it's been forever because we haven't gone since we had Seth.
Did you know that we could become Mr. Softy entrepreneurs?
Really? I didn't
Yes,
think
I-
that they delivered out here.
Bring it to
No,
Eau
you'd
Claire.
be like you'd be the
I
one.
could have
doing-
the truck.
No, I meant like the food
Franchisee.
distribution, the
Oh.
franchise
Yeah.
distribution. I didn't think they'd send it out here. But I suppose now with like shipping and dry
I
ice,
told
they
you
don't.
this years ago.
You probably did.
I did because I looked into it.
Failed investment
I believe you.
opportunities.
Failed investment.
I could have been an ice cream gal for years.
Well,
an ice cream stress.
Yes, that's my dream.
I would have.
Rolling
I would
in
have.
that
Therapist by
Day.
Weekdays,
Yes.
and
I'm
ice cream
almost-
strips by weekend.
I'm almost positive, though, the rule is for ice cream dynasties that you're an ice cream baron. I'm pretty sure
Oh.
that's
You'd be a
what it is.
baroness then.
Yeah.
She's going to break the rules.
Oh,
I
that's
like
true.
Ice cream strips.
It sounds like some like weird dominatrix thing.
I mean, it
Yeah.
is.
Because it kind of has the word scream in it.
That is the point. We
Fair
didn't
enough.
want to tell you, but now you know, so there you go.
Way to go. Blew my cover.
I love it. All right.
See what I'm dealing with? He doesn't want me to be a success.
I support
All these
I
years.
support
I'll
all
help
of
you.
your ice cream fun.
I'll help you. When you're doing your therapy, I will drive the truck.
Thanks, you'll peddle my goods.
Yes.
Let me remind you and all the listeners out there, I was the first one to jump on your sex on an ice cream sandwich thing.
That's true.
Call back.
So there, I support all of your ice cream. Now, all this talk of ice cream's got me thinking about summertime fun.
Yeah.
So how about we dive into it? Lisa, would you mind telling me what summer was like around the Rudd house?
It was usually what I can remember was me just hanging out around the house.
Mhm.
When I got older, we would go up north to Minong, Wisconsin,
Oh,
where we had
beef jerky. Oh, sorry.
no, that was we would drive past Link Brothers.
Yeah.
We took photos in there.
Actually, they weren't making jerky at that point, were they? How young were you?
They were making jerky.
Oh, okay.
It was like the Link dynasty up there. They had the dealership
Yep.
and the grocery store and
They just took over that whole.
the whole area. And we had a cabin up there. We go fishing.
Did you eat the fish?
Yes. So I learned how to clean fish.
But you don't like fish.
Not anymore, no.
Oh, you did
Because
back
she
then?
had to do all that stuff.
Okay.
Right,
That's fair.
right. But like on weekends and stuff.
He was a fish eater on the weekend,
Yep.
not during the week.
Oh man, that could be taken so many ways.
Every way but sideways.
Right.
Oh, man.
moving on.
Oh.
My parents had an 8-track player,
Ooh.
Nice.
and they did have 8-track tapes.
Mm-hmm.
We would go through those and play those. Had an old antenna TV, so we'd watch Red Green.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'd go out on the flowage a lot. At one point, got a paddle boat, took that on the lake. I would read. We'd watch football. Eventually got a pontoon. We'd go swimming.
Sounds like you and I had very similar
Yeah.
scenarios.
Yeah. Just do that sort of stuff.
Fun. I love
Yeah.
it. Oh, good times.
I know, like, fishing, I don't know, like, if anybody else has experienced this, but the best was when, like, the smallest fish had the most fight.
Yeah.
Like
No, I
the
agree
little
with you.
sunfish that were, like, 3 inches long.
Yeah.
Like you did all that for that.
Right. And you were like, oh, I have a big one on the hook. Like, my dad had specific spots where that was the fish.
Mm-hmm.
That were the only fish you could catch because he had the best time
At least you don't-
watching us catch those fish.
At least you don't feel so bad in those cases about like, oh yeah, we're gonna catch and release and
Right,
yeah.
right. But yeah, catching crappies was the thing to do
Mhm.
and then frying
Yeah.
those up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the weeknight meals.
Ooh. Nice. I
Or
love
not
that.
weeknight, but weekend, yeah.
Okay. Great. Ryan, do you want to?
Did not do any of that.
No. That's fine.
I was very much summertime was like my time to be like chill at home all the time, which isn't that much different than the school year. But, having like local cousins that lived in the same city, there was a lot of like sleepovers and there was a lot of Nickelodeon being on 24/7 at my house.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't know how other people were as far as summer went, but for me, summer was like no bedtime. Just stay up,
Yeah.
sleep
Yeah.
in, whatever. And when you're that young too, you can go to bed at like 2 a.m. and get up at 8 and be like, I'm good. Whereas now it's like,
Yep.
I went to bed. My Fitbit claims that I had like 7 hours of sleep, and I'm just like, I don't think I did.
No.
Right, right.
I don't think that
Right.
did anything.
Around like 4th and 5th grade, I think were like the really fun summers because it was like grown up enough to be able to do stuff on your own, but you were still like kid enough that you didn't have any real responsibility as far as like
There wasn't so much drama yet.
Right.
Yeah.
and like so you could ride your bike at, like, I just remember one time my cousin and I, because my cousin Amanda would come over a lot and we would chill and like watch TV late at night and sleep in the living room. And so we'd wake up sometimes 3, 4 in the morning and be like, oh, the sun's coming up. Let's go for a bike ride. And we like, would go for a bike ride at like 5 in the morning.
Ooh, that's
and nothing,
fun.
not like a athletic bike ride, just like kids
a
riding their bikes.
Yeah.
leisurely-
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
And
didn't
we'd
like
be
riding your bike. So yeah, leisure, but I rode my bike everywhere to like meet up with friends during the summer. So it was my mode of transportation. So you had,
oh, you were a child.
yeah, like that was my freedom. I loved it.
I'm not going to lie. Ryan couldn't ride a bike properly until about 4th grade.
Oh, that's fine.
Because every summer I would try to do it because I had like a little bike that had training wheels on it.
Mm-hmm.
And when they took them off, it was like, well, the bike was too small for me anyway. So then I got like a slightly bigger bike. And every year I would try to learn how to balance.
Mhm.
And when I would fall like
Mhm.
twice, I'd give up for the summer. Like,
Oh,
nope,
sure. This is
I'm
not
not
the
going to
year.
try that anymore. So like 4th grade, it was just like, oh, I get it. I get how the balancing works. Now I'm good.
That's fair.
All right.
Yeah, so it was a lot of that, a lot of Nintendo.
Yeah.
And like my grandparents had a sun porch, which is now my sun porch. And we would, that's my cousin and I would move the Nintendo out to the sun porch TV.
Oh,
in the summer.
nice.
So, like,
Yeah.
play Nintendo out here. Yeah, a lot of renting movies, lots of drinking Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
eating at the picnic table outside.
Not cult Kool-Aid.
No.
No,
Just
because that was Flavor Aid.
Plain old Kool-Aid.
Real Kool-Aid. The
Okay.
oh yeah kind. Charcoalberry
Mhm.
Fin.
Nice. Excellent.
All right. Carl, I would love to know what things were like when you were a kid for
You
summer.
grew up in a big city. What
I
was
wanna-
that
They,
like?
they had to like
Well,
open
I
up the
think-
fire hydrants to cool
I
off.
think that's
Did they
kind
really?
of where.
I just like to give Carl crap. Because
I think that I just need to start my own solo bougie. I'm wonderful podcast.
I grew up in a big city.
Yeah, I just-
I mean, I really was a bumpkin. So.
Oh man, I totally fell for the fire hydrant thing.
well, because you know, like in like New York,
Oh, yeah,
Right,
totally
right.
though. But your delivery was perfect.
Well, I thought maybe. I don't know. I grew up in a town of 2,500 and I
They
didn't
would-
even live
they
in
would-
the town.
They would sometimes do that during the summer.
I'm sure.
Oh,
Like-
the cherry was
So,
you
in Eau
just
Claire,
admitting it.
If they ever did that, it was because there was something that they needed to clear out.
Yeah.
Because there was like
so,
debris in the
so
system.
we shouldn't probably be.
No.
Well, I
It
think
was
it was.
still
I think
clean.
it was part of regular maintenance,
Yeah.
like you said. But I think because I mean, I remember. So we had Matt Madsen Park, which was like 2 blocks from me, and they would open the fire hydrant right outside the rec area,
hmm
and people would just play in it,
Yeah.
and it would flood the whole like playground area, and it was fun.
Oh.
They were just trying to kill you. Thin out the herd.
I think so. Well, so yeah, Racine
Whoa.
during the summer.
That got dark.
Carl was hurting.
You know, it's funny because I always think I told Ryan, you know, the first time I went to Disney World was an adult. Like I didn't go as a kid. That wasn't my
Yeah.
like.
It was with me.
You know, when I went away for the summer, it was up to Upper Michigan always because that's where my dad was from. And we used to take like, so sometimes we'd stay at my grandma's. Sometimes we'd rent a camper
Mm-hmm.
at like the KOA. And I was thinking about your like paddle boat, pontoon boat thing.
Yep.
Picture them combined. It was the coolest
Okay.
pontoon boat I'd ever seen, but it was like a 3-seater wrought iron, like hillbilly bench kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was like a bike, and it was the coolest paddle boat I'd ever
I
been
can
on.
kind of envision that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was great. I mean, I think about all the places we went. We went through the Sioux Locks and Sault Ste. Marie, and
Little
Ruggles
giggle there.
approves.
Yeah.
one time we were camping up in Copper Country, up in Houghton Hancock, and there had been a terrible storm. And I remember we left the campsite, went to a hotel in town, and we went back the next morning. All these like campers and trailers, everything was like tipped over. And we got to our site, and we were camping in a tent, and our site was just perfect. It was the
Well,
weirdest
you
thing.
don't know this, but the weird hillbillies that lived in the woods, they went and like fixed up your camp and then went back into the woods.
Yeah, I'd go up. My dad spent all his vacation time to go up there during the summer, so that's what we did.
Yeah.
In Racine, like we're on the lake, and so a lot of times like our zoo was free still back then, and residents have a discount rate now, but so you'd be at the zoo and then you could go down the steps, and that'd be North Beach, so you're on Lake Michigan.
Oh.
We were kind of close enough to everything, so like there's a lot of festivals, Milwaukee, Kenosha, Racine, different ethnic festivals, always dancing, always food. And then if you're talking about fishing, like
Mm-hmm.
Racine has Salmon-orama every year.
Salmon-orama?
It's like one of the biggest fishing contests in the world. And so it was crazy because you'd go down there and down to the festival grounds and they just have like fish lined up hanging because they measure them for how big.
Yeah.
It's just so weird. But I used to go perch fishing with my dad down there when they put the new marina in. So yeah, I mean, there was plenty of stuff going on all the time. I don't remember ever being bored. I remember always being outside.
Yeah.
Like we had an alley in our neighborhood, it's like our block. So we'd always be out there until whenever someone's mom was like, "Hey, you better come in."
Sure.
But playing kick the can and ghost in the graveyard and just like it was awesome because you had the whole block. No one had fences back then.
Mhm.
So like everyone was just running through everywhere and it was a neat place to grow up.
Bad.
I don't know. So sometimes I feel like I'm a little jealous that like you get to see shows and movies and all these kids get to go all these cool places. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know, there's something cool about being in your hometown. And then I got to go up and see my grandma and I don't know, kind of frontier country because the UP is kind of this
It's beautiful.
you know, just forest and
Oh, it's so pretty.
that was my
It's awesome.
childhood. It was pretty awesome.
I'm envious.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Amanda, would you care to share?
Oh, sure. So I hail from Northeast Wisconsin, from a very small town. So my summers were basically spent, well, when I stayed home with my siblings, we like cleaned the house. I probably didn't do as much as I remember doing. I'm sure my sister knows. My brother doesn't remember anything. My brother was in charge of what we would watch. So we watched a lot of infomercials.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have cable because we
A lot
lived
of-
in the country.
A lot of the Ronco, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The rotisserie.
Can I be honest though? I love infomercials. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't have loved if that was the only thing I could
Well,
watch, but I still to this day I'm like, let's
Yep.
watch this. I
I
love this
remember
infomercial.
asking my brother, why do we have to watch this again? We just watched. And he's like, did you buy it? And I'm like, no, because I'm like in first grade or so. I don't remember how old we were, but like, it's like, how would I buy this? Obviously. And he's like, well, that's the point of the infomercial is that they want you to buy it. So you have to keep watching it until you buy it. And if you don't buy it, you keep watching it. And I'm like,
solid reasoning.
this is like insane. But
Did you have that misconception of how products worked? Because when we were kids, especially in the summer, there'd be like a toy commercial, and one of my cousins and I would be like, "Oh, that's so cool! We should get one." And my other cousin would go, "No, I'm gonna get it," as if
Oh,
one
there's
exists,
only
and they're
one.
advertising it, and she's gonna get it.
Oh,
You're not
yeah.
getting it.
No, I did think that commercials, I thought all programs were live. So I was always like, how do they get them to come like on such short notice? Like there must be like a lot of scheduling things going on here. I watched soap operas with my sister.
That was such a great rainy day activity.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
So, like,
when
we
you
did
said
that.
that, I was like, that's something I should have mentioned. I watched a lot of Days of Our Lives in the
Mhm.
summer.
Yeah.
Always
Yeah.
caught up as to what was going on
Yep,
for the year.
That was the only thing. We watched soaps and infomercials. I played softball in the summers, so that was really fun. In middle school, I spent a lot of time with my best friend, and she lived in town, so we could go around places. So we would always we would plan, like, I remember there was one summer we planned this big day where it's like, okay, we're going to go rollerblading, which I am awful at, but somehow I always was like, okay, like this is the time, like I'm going to be good at it, but I never was. I can't stop. So we were like, we're going to go rollerblading and we're going to go play tennis and we're going to play volleyball and we're going to play basketball. So we like loaded up all of this stuff because we were going to rollerblade to this park.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were going to rollerblade to where her mom and dad worked, which was like a gas station that was like the edge of town. So it was like several miles with all of this crap. So we like rollerbladed to the park and we got there and we're like, oh, I'm so tired. And we kind of like half-heartedly played tennis and then maybe volleyball. And then we're like, should we just go by your mom and go get lunch? So we rollerbladed out because it was like a gas station convenience store. And we got like some pizza and we had a burping contest in her mom's office to see like one of us had Pepsi and one had Coke to see like who would get the bigger burps. And I don't remember who won. And then we like rollerbladed back into town and we decided to like go into all of the little stores that were in town. And this one lady, there was a little craft store and she did not appreciate
I can
these
imagine.
two middle school girls who clearly didn't have any money and we were like sweaty and just tired and like just delaying going
burping.
home, right? we were like looking, we were going to look like through like this pattern book or something. And she's like, you can't look through that unless you're going to buy it. And we're like, oh, I'm sorry. Mind you, my friend and I were very polite young people.
right.
Like
Yeah.
we were the ones like we didn't know anything about anything. Like we were very, very good girls. And she was just like, you can't look at that. And she's, why don't you guys like go be junior lifeguards or something? Like, why don't you? I'm like, what? Like, we're not even old enough to have a job. Thank you for welcoming us.
I don't think like
I don't even know how that lady had any business. Like, I don't know who was shopping there. There was no one there.
Only middle schoolers who had no money.
Right.
I wouldn't know how to
There was no
tell.
one even in there.
I wouldn't know how to tell teenagers today like how gruff some adults were.
She was Edith from Bob's Burgers.
Right, like,
God, it was just like,
right?
okay. So then
Like-
we like went home and, just had a good time. But like summers were just, it was fun.
The rollerblading thing, we think my cousin and I would ride our bikes down to Riverview and go swimming. And for whatever reason, one time we were like, well, we'll just walk. It's not that big a deal. But we didn't go like the way where you'd go down our street and cut through like by Gary's parents' house. It was like we went the other way around. And I don't know
Oh,
why.
that way's really long.
I don't know why we thought riding your bike there was fine, so walking would be fine. We get like halfway there, we're like, I don't even want to swim anymore. Like, let's just turn around and go back.
Yeah.
And we did we wear regular shoes to walk? No, we
No.
wore our aqua socks
Oh, of
Oh,
course.
and
yeah.
walked in those. Like,
Oh.
This is a terrible
the
idea.
things 11-year-olds do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, our summers were fun. Like it was relaxing. And I remember when I hit puberty, I slept a lot that summer. And my brother and sister were like, why do you sleep all the time? And I didn't know. And now I'm
Right.
like, you guys were buttholes. Like,
Like, and y'all probably slept before
right.
I realized
but,
what y'all
I
were
didn't
doing.
know because my sister's 6.5 years older than me. I wasn't paying
Yeah.
attention to their sleep schedule. Like I was
Yeah.
probably outside.
Hmm.
So then when it was my turn, they're like, all you do is sleep. I'm like, I'm tired. Oh,
Yeah.
I remember one summer, a
Jerks.
bunch of my relatives from around the country being in town, and like my cousin Andrew going out. They weren't adult, but they were like 20, going out with my other cousin, and like they came back really late. And I remember him sleeping till maybe 2 p.m.
ooh.
And 11, 12-year-old me thinking, that makes no sense. How could you ever sleep like that? And then the minute I got to be like 20, it was like, no, I get it.
yeah.
Sleeping until 2 p.m. sounds wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, my
Yep.
best friend and I also, she had a big trampoline in her backyard,
Ooh.
which
Yeah.
I don't like. That's how I hurt my neck in 8th
Oh,
grade. But
sure.
like, I never really liked them. But it was really fun when it was just the two of us because we would always be like, we're going to sleep on the trampoline outside. Like,
Yeah.
it was
Oh.
always this wonderful idea in our
Mm.
head. And it was really fun. Like, we'd bring snacks and we'd put all our blankets and our pillows out. We had like a little TV, like a teeny tiny TV that we would like put out there. And every morning we'd wake up and it was like just, we were wet.
Because of the dew.
Yep, yep.
Everything. It just felt so gross. And we're like, oh, yeah, that's right. This is kind of yucky.
Do you ever feel
But,
like the little
okay.
TV, that kind of stuff was such a cool novelty when we
Oh,
were kids,
yeah.
but now that like you have your
Oh,
phone
yeah.
and you can do
Like-
that, it's like big
Yeah.
deal.
It's like, no, we had to carry it like it was a box.
But,
They had
like-
to carry it, and like we had to get an extension cord,
Right,
and like,
and, like,
and it
that-
was like
that
so
made it so
cool
special, yeah.
that like we put in all this effort to do it, and then it was like
I remember laying on our trampoline and like during
we
the
would,
day
like,
it was
look at-
awesome
we
because it
would
was
look
like
at the stars,
and during the
Oh,
day, you look
God,
at the
it was
clouds,
beautiful,
and
yeah.
it would be because it was like black, so it was
Mhm.
like warm.
Mm-hmm.
It was so great.
Yeah, don't sleep on it though, because
Yeah.
it feels disgusting in the morning.
I never did an all-nighter.
Oh God, every freaking time, and it was always like, oh yeah, oh
Yeah.
okay, well let's get our stuff and go in the house. Gotta change. So gross. So those were my summers.
Oh, that's awesome. My summers were a little bit of a mashup of kind of both because, I grew up in the city. I was lucky where we didn't have like a cabin, but we had a spot where we'd go camping. And camping was every weekend. So I had a mix of being out in the country, being out in wilderness, getting to do lots of fishing, getting to do lots of swimming. But then during the week, I'd be in city mode. And my city summertime fun was mostly just the morning usually was like getting chores done that were laid out for us. And then it was some friends would come over, we'd watch TV. I do remember Days of Our Lives being on. I don't remember. I even got into it a little bit, but it was, I had two sisters.
Well,
and-
you just fall into like the Days of Our Lives was always interesting because it was like sands through the hourglass, like time goes so fast, but every week of our life was one day.
Yeah.
Because like, usually like on a Monday it was a different day. It was like the next day this is going on.
I never
Not
kept
always, but that was like the pattern I observed some summers.
Yeah,
Like,
it was slow moving for sure.
but you'd get into it because you'd be like, well, now I need to know what happens tomorrow.
Yep. Yep.
And if you missed a day, you were usually okay. Because well, they're still in that room having that argument.
Yeah.
Well, there were summers where it's, oh yeah, I'm caught up from last summer now. I didn't watch it all year.
So yeah, it was that. Just a plethora of fun times at the house. As far as activities, because we were in the city, they had those parks and rec buildings that were out all over, and kids could go and just do activities. We did that, but it was always just riding bikes, riding a scooter to get to those venues, and just tons of hanging out with friends and bike riding. I tell you, kids today, I don't think they really know what they're missing out on. It was amazing. So yeah, it was a hybrid. I got a taste of the countryside and the city side, and I really appreciate that.
Did you guys have to wear helmets when you rode bikes?
God, no.
No.
I should have.
We should have, but we
Yeah.
never did.
I was going to ask, because I remember bike riding with neighbors and my mom, and I was like, oh, I'm going to catch up to this neighbor, and the next thing I know, it's the next day because I fell off my bike
Oh no.
and my head bounced off the blacktop and I got a concussion.
Oh man.
Still didn't have to wear a helmet, just didn't
Okay,
wear a
just
helmet.
be careful.
Yeah,
I
just
think I was 8 or 9.
You learned your lesson.
We were still playing cops and robbers, but on bikes now.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And we were chasing each other, and my neighbor turned his bike sideways, but it was like right in front of me.
ooh.
So I couldn't stop, and I hit the back wheel, and I cracked my head open. So I had
Yeah.
5 stitches.
There was
Yeah.
a lot
He was
more head
little
cracking
then.
open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Lots
one
of
of those
head
things
injuries.
you don't know.
We don't hear about it now.
Like, they're like, there's blood. And I'm like, there's blood? Like, what? And I'm like, half a block from home, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But, oh, that was so crazy.
I mostly just landed on my knees.
Man,
Yeah.
Yeah.
every kid in
A
the
lot of scraped
neighborhood
knees back in the day.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
broke something falling out of a tree too, which made me go, I'm not climbing trees.
I never
never-
climbed trees.
Oh my god, I climbed trees like crazy. I loved
Oh.
it.
Oh, so did my sister.
I've never fallen out of a tree though.
All the time.
Oh,
That you remember.
That's true.
in the winter, my sister would climb trees and be like, Lisa, watch me. And then she would fall out of them into the snow.
Oh my
Really?
god.
Yes, where I would climb trees and be like, I'm too afraid to get down now. Could someone please come and help me?
Yeah.
You're
Yep.
a kitten.
Yeah,
We-
basically.
Lisa was always hoping for a strong firefighter to come get her.
We had a friend down the street
Nailed it.
who they built like a platform that was like equivalent of like a couple boards together, like a picnic table kind of, and they put it in a tree. And really, in hindsight, it probably wasn't that high, but we'd go and sit up there.
Still
and, like,
doesn't
just
sound very
chill.
safe.
No, it was like a tree house, but it was just the platform. It wasn't.
Oh, no.
Mom, it's awesome.
God, no.
I had something like that.
I don't
in my
like
neighborhood.
heights
Yeah.
for anybody. When we would go to the Mall of America with our kiddo when he was a toddler, they have like those plexiglass walls
Mhm.
or whatever, so, like on the 3rd floor, and I would make Gary. I'm like, go stand by him. Like I can't be over there.
Yeah. No, I
like
know.
he can't be there by himself. Like go get him.
I remember that. Yeah, he was a little daredevil. He wanted to be right up by the
Oh
glass.
God, every freaking time. And I'm
Yeah.
like, please don't. I can't get you. I know you're not really in danger, but oh my God.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, it sounds like everybody had pretty awesome summers.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'd like to go a little bit deeper. Would y'all mind sharing some like specific stories? I'm looking for. Yeah, but that's how I roll. I'm thinking something.
If you could see Amanda's face right now,
But we're gonna open it up for anything summertime. Just a fun story that you want to share. Think of some like family trips, family vacations, anything like that.
South Dakota, Wall
Yeah.
Drug,
Do we-
Corn
Yeah.
Palace.
You did it?
Has everybody
Heck
done
yeah.
it?
I've never done that.
Badlands.
That was the one family vacation.
That was same.
We didn't do any other.
Well, you're gonna have to
did
tell
we.
that story, Amanda.
That was it. I
Neither
don't
did
remember
we.
much. Like we wrote.
I
My
don't think
dad.
there's much to remember.
My dad was. He has always been very much. He needs a car that has a good gas mileage. That is why we get our vehicles. They have good gas mileage. And we had 3 kids. My parents never had a vehicle that had more than 2 doors our entire childhood. Never. And I'm the youngest. So we drove to frickin' South Dakota.
Mhm.
And I was in the middle, and my brother and sister have no respect for any space for me
Mm-hmm.
ever. So like my sister would like lay so her butt was kind of to the side, so it would be going toward the middle, and she like could like lay out, and then my brother had his legs wide open, and I'm like sitting there like trying to just make myself as small as possible, and
Mhm.
anytime I touch them, they're like, get out of my space.
Which would be okay going across town, but eastern
not-
Wisconsin
yeah.
to the Dakotas, not.
Not great. No. And it was really freaking hot. And we had like a cooler back there. Like it's like packed up with all of our crap. And I'm just like, where's my space? Like I don't have a space. And they don't give
Tom
a
hasn't
shit.
invented it yet.
No,
They-
he hadn't.
They did not care. But we drove out there, and I don't know. I remember we went to a place where like they had like these giant tortoises or something, and we got to sit on them.
Like real or like
yeah,
a statue?
like real.
Oh,
no,
real?
like
Okay.
real freaking tortoises. And we sat on them, and mine started moving, and it freaked me out. So I made my brother switch with me because this wasn't moving. Like, granted, it was not going fast.
Did you go to Mount Rushmore?
Yes.
Yeah, so
We
did
went-
we.
Did you
So
notice
did
it was
we.
smaller than you expected?
I don't remember. Like,
It
I
was
don't-
big time. I thought it was way bigger, but that's because all the pictures
I
zoom
think-
in.
I think I was little enough where it like seemed enormous.
Oh.
But like
I
we
just remember
did.
turning around the corner where you're like, we're going to see Mount Rushmore. And it was like, but it's just a little chunk of that mountain. I thought it
Yeah.
was the mountain.
Right.
I was little enough that it was still impressive. But yeah, and I remember we stayed at like a cabin, and our family is not a family of swimmers, but like I really wanted to go see the pool.
Mhm.
And my parents were like, well, you can't go swimming today. And I'm like, okay. And they allowed me to like go put my feet in the water. So like, I don't know if that's probably my sister got stuck with me. I don't know. But we went, and I went to put my feet in, and I fell all the way in.
Oh no.
And I like fell under the water, and I was so scared. And I swear to God, someone like jumped in like right after me, not to get me, but like jumped in. And I thought I was going to die. And then I came up, and I was so scared I was going to get in trouble. And I'm like, oh my God, I went in the pool and I wasn't supposed to. You know, my parents were not mad at me, but I was like terrified that whole walk back because like
They know.
I went in the
They're gonna know.
pool. Oh my gosh. And my sister was a teenager, so she had like a real bad attitude. And like I just remember my dad being furious with her because she was wearing her hat backward and like
Oh,
had her big
no.
fluffy bangs out of the, out of the whatever.
The best part is like I totally get like a cartoon image
Oh
thinking
God, yeah.
about this.
Like, and we were taking like family pictures or something, and my dad kept telling her to take her hat off, and she wouldn't, and it was like this big deal. And it was, yeah, it was just ridiculous. It reminds me of like a TV sitcom.
I was gonna
of,
say
like,
it's a classic family trip right
yeah, of like 90s. And it was like fucking hot, and
there.
there's
Yeah.
like not enough space. And my dad like would just drive until he got tired, and like then he'd drive around to town to find like a vacancy sign on like a
Oh,
motel, and
yeah.
then make my mom go in to see if there was.
I remember when like that seemed okay to do.
Oh, my dad tried to
Yeah.
do that with my son a few summers ago. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I,
I
do
want-
now. Yeah.
I want it. So my parents bring my niece on a lot of trips, like as she is growing up. So I want you to bring my kid. Like you guys are going to Montana. Like, can he go with you? Like, I think he saw Mount Rushmore. Like,
I came
and-
to Yellowstone.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Hmm.
But my parents came to our house to get him. And I'm like, okay, so where are you guys staying? Like, where are you going? And my dad's like, well, we're just going to drive until I get tired, and then your mom can like find a place. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what now? I'm like, no, you're not doing that with my child. Like, I remember what that was like. You know, we can book things online. And he was just like, no, I think I'm like, what are you going to do if there's no vacancies? You're not going to, no. So I ended up searching and like booking places. I did not do the best job because there was one place, and my dad's like, what the hell did you book for us? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, it looked fine. He's like, this is the dumpiest place ever. And my dad like does not get sketched out. Like, he's not picky, and like it was even too much for him. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, at least you had a place.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted it to be planned. It probably would have been better if I would have just let you like go freewheel it and wing it. But
Yeah.
You know, speaking of Mount Rushmore, My parents were more, they wanted to point out the Crazy Horse monument
yeah.
being built. That was
Yep.
more important to them for us to see.
Is it finished yet?
No.
No.
I remember all that. I remember being very confused by the Corn Palace thing, like as to why that was
nifty.
a thing.
That was so nifty to me. I was like, why? This is so weird.
The
Yeah.
oddities of the world.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We also
And-
stopped and saw like a giant dinosaur statue.
Yep, same.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Black Hills.
That I would be
Yep.
into.
Those were gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Is that possibly the same dinosaurs that you guys saw, Ryan?
Well, that's a whole park of dinosaurs
Oh.
in Wyoming. So
Okay, why? Okay, never mind.
No.
And Wall
We
Drug,
just,
I
we
just,
just have random dinosaurs on
Yeah.
this side.
Interesting.
and I remember,
I've never been out that way.
I remember Wall Drug.
Mm-hmm.
And Wall Drug, my dad making it very clear that it was a tourist trap
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
and just have fun. But
Mhm. Seth's kindergarten picture featured a Wall Drug dinosaur
yeah.
t-shirt.
Yeah, it did.
ooh.
That was not what he was supposed to wear for picture day. There was some discrepancy on the calendar. So I guessed and I was wrong.
Mother of the
I
Year.
betcha.
You know, we're going to be announcing that later, so just wait.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right. Well,
So that's my
that's awesome. That's a great story.
mhm,
But
thanks.
I like that Amanda and I like shared.
Yeah.
we were both like
a different car.
Something totally normal.
different car.
well, let's hear some more summer stories, though. I want to.
So the summer after 8th grade, I went on a massive road trip with my cousin, my oldest cousin. Well, as it turns out, not my oldest cousin, because surprise, there was that adopted cousin that we
Yeah.
didn't know about back
Okay.
then. But
Ooh, do we all
Cool.
have those too?
I
I
don't.
doubt it.
Oh.
But maybe.
I have a few.
Oh,
If you do Ancestry.com, you might find out.
Oh, we
They'll track
found
you
out
down.
eventually. Like, yeah, but no, my sister was a little devastated when she learned that she was not actually the oldest of the grandchildren on one
sure,
side.
sure.
But my cousin Sarah and I we had like our regular family reunion at the end of June in Wisconsin, and she and I left from there and went through Minnesota that first night, drove through a massive thunderstorm. And I mean, I was 14 and she was 27, 26.
Oh,
you know.
okay, so like not 17.
No,
I'm
but she
thinking
was
like
just
a very
like,
inexperienced driver.
oh my God. So we had to put on Disney music to calm ourselves. But in that moment of terror, we invented some very good parody songs
Ooh.
for Be Our Guest. We'd say, be our guest, put my sister to the chest.
Oh.
Touch her chest, squeeze her breast, rub my brother's hairy nest.
Oh my!
Got us through a very scary storm. And then when we got like outside of the storm, and it was that thing where it's like everything's calm and quiet, but everything's wet. And it was
Yeah.
like, oh, and then we pulled into like a McDonald's. It was like, oh, this is comforting because this is something weird. I feel safe now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we went from Wisconsin to Minnesota to South Dakota. And like, I think, I want to say we were right on the border of South Dakota the first night. But she had planned like the whole trip. Like, we had an atlas and she had like highlighted where we were going.
Ooh,
and, like,
fancy.
where we'd stop. Of course, the whole trip didn't go, on schedule necessarily. There'd be nights where like it was a really crappy day. We did this like hike thing and it just sucked. So we're like, we're going to get a hotel room with HBO so we can watch a movie and eat Subway.
Ooh.
And because like we were gonna camp tonight, but we're not going to because we're pissy, So South Dakota, I think we went right into Wyoming, down through Colorado, into New Mexico, then to Texas, and then from Texas she flew home, or she
just
drove
left
home,
you?
and I flew. Well, no, because
okay,
we
good.
stayed at our aunt's house, and I flew up to my dad in Washington.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
And stayed there for a week, and then flew home, and then started high
You
school.
were so adventurous. I don't know that I
Sorry.
have any older cousins that my parents would have been like, you know what? That's a great idea.
Well,
Go
it's really
ahead.
funny. I remember her being like, "Oh yeah, it'll be great. You can drive part of it." I'm like, "I'm 14." She's like, "I thought you were 16." I'm like, "No."
Oh, God, no.
So she had to do all the driving, but she really liked that her car had cruise control.
Oh, yeah. That'd be very good.
But I kept a notebook, so like there was lots of stuff we'd say that was hilarious. Like there was a time we were eating trail mix, and we were just being goofballs, and she smiled at me, and I was like, "Ooh, you have nut skin in your teeth." So she's like, "Oh," she took a big swig of water and swished, and then she swallowed, and then she smiled at me, and like somehow it had moved, so it was like a bigger chunk of nut skin was there, and I just spit all over the dashboard because it was like, "It's more. There's more nut skin." There was a guy in Colorado. We went to a bunch of caves. We did a lot of touristy things.
Oh, cool.
We were in, I don't remember if it was Wind Cave or Jewel Cave, and I honestly don't remember which state it was in. unfortunately. If I looked at my notes, I would know for sure. But the tour guide's name was Brad, and he was kind of a white Slater. He had like a really tight curly mullet, and I said something like he's kind of cute, and my cousin's like, nah, I don't like his hands. And then she's like, I'm really big on hands, and I said, yeah, because that's what touches your boobs. And she goes, shit, no, that's what the mouth is for.
Oh my!
But she's like, I don't know, he's just kind of hokey. He did this whole thing where he talked about how the water gets in the rock and eats away at the sediment, and he did like this whole like Mr. Rogers-y thing where he's like, and the water gets in and it starts to eat away at the thing, and he's doing this little like dancey thing.
God, I had such a crush on him.
Right? So then when we went to, that must have been Wind Cave, because then we went to Jewel Cave. We had this tour guide named Charla, and she was just like ditzy and whatever. And I remember this was like, I don't remember if it was this later that same day or the next day, but when she was doing her little spiel, Sarah goes, I miss Brad. And it was hard too, because like you're with your girl cousin and you're at that age where like everywhere we went, I'd see hot boys and be like, oh, but I wasn't really out to everybody then. So it was like, do I say something or do I just keep it to myself? Be like, oh, did you see that family? Both those brothers were hot. But then I did, and I kind of wish I would have, because like the next summer I talked about it. She's like, oh, I kind of figured, but I'm like, I wish, because we could have talked about boys. It would have been so much fun. But when we were in Utah, there was some serial killer. Right?
Obviously.
You know, like some escaped convict or two, I don't remember, but it was like,
As what is usual.
we had stayed at this place I think it was in Wyoming. It was like this really nice, it was like you could park your RV there, but there were little cabins and you could rent a cabin.
Oh, nice.
And the cabin was very basic, but it was very nice. And the beds were like almost like a loft bed, but not up.
Yeah.
So it was just like this, like basically like a seat cushion
Oh, sure.
bed, but they were comfy, they were nice. And the night before, you'd put on a little thing like, oh, what kind of muffin would you like in the morning? And because there was like a little picnic area, and you'd go out and they'd have all these muffins for you.
Oh.
So I learned chocolate zucchini muffins are amazing.
Ooh,
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
But we loved that place. So then we went to this place in Utah. In
This was when you said the bad lodging thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, Ryan's got a story.
I got the story. Let me tell you.
Oh, wait. Oh, God.
In Zion National Park, there is a place called McCuntaweep,
Oh.
which we decided to stay at McCuntaweep RV
Obviously.
Park and campground because of the name.
Why would you not?
I would.
Right.
I totally would.
Now we get there and we check in. We pay the $25 or $50 or I don't remember what it was back in
Cheap
1998.
McCunta.
Yep. And they're like, for a little bit extra, you can get one of the cabins. And we thought, well, the other place has such
Ooh.
nice cabins, so we'll see. Go to the cabin, and I'm not kidding you. It's like this A-frame, and like you open the door, and it's like 4 walls and a dirty mattress on the ground. It's like, nope, I think we'll camp tonight. So we're driving up the trail to where our campsite would be, and like, I don't know what it was, but the road, the little path was so narrow, and there was a part where it was like, I think the wheel is going to fall off the road and we're going to die. Like we were so freaking out, and we're like, this place is so sketchy and so scary and so gross. And I looked up, I don't think it's open anymore.
Oh,
So we don't
Shocker.
have to worry about.
So we can't go?
I wanted to at least go check it out.
Well, no, but I mean, like, we
No
don't have to worry
McCunta
about
for
them being
us.
like,
Yeah.
how dare you talk about our company? Like, as far as like 2011, it was still around, but I kept the brochure, but we said, I don't care that we paid the money already. We're leaving. That was one of the nights we were like, we're getting a hotel because there's serial killers somewhere, and we're not staying here and getting murdered or falling off a cliff.
That was probably a really good call.
So she said, oh, we should have known it had the word cunt in it. It wouldn't be a good place to stay. But I kept the little brochure thing with the map, and I'm like, oh, McCuntaweep.
So you just paid a few dollars for a brochure. It's
Pretty much.
That was your souvenir.
But that was the year Sex and the City came out, and we got kind of hooked. Every time we'd stay in a hotel, we'd be like, oh, Sex and the City tonight. Let's watch that.
Mm-hmm.
We watched a special one night about hookers,
Oh.
like HBO, and it was like literally just women,
If you would have had that little TV, you
Was
could
it
have
like the
done it in
Talk
that.
Sex series back then?
kind of, but it was like raw hooker stories or something.
Yeah.
And, okay, so
Are you
it was.
sure that wasn't on Cinemax?
I love
wasn't.
cable.
But it wasn't like it wasn't. It was graphic, but not.
Children will never know.
It was these
No,
like
it
these
wasn't.
4 hookers sitting at like a diner that I'm sure was a set, and just telling stories about things that
Being
they've
a raw
experienced.
hooker.
Yeah.
But then they'd also show like, oh, here, the one lady who was missing a tooth was like talking. She was the best one. She was hilarious. But then she's like, one time I was with this trick and blah, 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 blah. And then it showed like from like a parked car, they were filming the car and she was mic'd.
Oh.
So like you'd see like their interaction, but you couldn't see anything other than like, oh, they're in that car.
Right.
But the one lady there was like, and she says, "No, don't do that. You make my cha-cha dry." So, that was one of the phrases we used. I got a lot of mileage out of on that trip. You make my cha-cha dry. In fact, we still say it to each other to this day.
I've heard that phrase before.
Well, now you know its origin.
Is there a DVD set of that?
I wonder if we could find it online somewhere.
That'd be nice.
Oh my god.
A lot of the time we were driving, we kept seeing people with bumper stickers for Wall Drug,
yeah.
billboards for Wall Drug. So we're like, wow, this Wall Drug, I wonder what it is. When we passed it, we're like, that's it? That little building? That's Wall Drug?
I remember being really confused because I'm very literal. So like me, the word drug implies drugs and it's sassy. So I was very confused as to why we were going to this and why everybody wants to like get stuff that says that like you went to this drug place.
Yeah.
It was very confusing.
When we were in Wyoming, we stayed with our great uncle, so my grandpa Ray's brother. Hoot of a dude, very fun, and his wife. There was this thing that we thought was hilarious that when we stayed there for a couple of days. There were places where we'd go and we'd kind of recharge. We'll stay with Uncle Ralph for 3 days and then we don't have to go anywhere. Like that was when we were on the 4th of July because remember we went to like some lake to watch fireworks. But he would tell us like every night, oh, if you want to take a bath, there's plenty of towels. Like he was fixated on telling us they had plenty of towels. And Sarah and I were both like, why does Uncle Ralph worry that we are concerned about the number of towels he has?
Maybe that was like a luxury item.
It might have been.
You know, like where it's like, you might need to share a towel. And now he's like, look at my bounty.
And I stayed in this room that was, I don't think that's the house like his family grew up in. I think they lived there later, but I don't know for sure. But the room I was in had like a bookshelf full of old 50s, 60s sci-fi novels.
Ooh.
And I, to this day, go, I wonder where those novels are now. Because Uncle Ralph's still around, but it's like,
oh,
like who has those? Because
Well,
they were
could
like
we
Conan the
ask
Barbarian.
him
I would
why?
totally have taken some of those.
Ooh, yeah.
Could we ask him why he really was like, is he still into the towel count?
No, I don't think so.
We're not sure he's still like
With it?
lucid.
No, he's pretty.
Oh, is
yeah.
he? Oh.
When we went to the big reunion this year, they sent that message.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Can I just send him a letter?
He'd
probably
probably,
Ralph.
he'd probably like it.
Hi, Uncle Ralph. To me, it's very important to have a good number of towels. What do you think is the appropriate amount?
And do you still have those novels? Because Ryan would like to know.
What do you have in the Conan the Barbarian?
Milieu.
Here's a pretty good fisherman.
He is.
Okay, I do want to write him a letter because I do like sending things.
You do like stationery.
I do. Mm.
Yeah. That's all.
When we were. So that trip was like
Gary
amazing.
really
And it was,
appreciates it.
I always feel like it was such a good time too to like go do that trip right when you're about to start high school where
Yeah.
you're like a transition of like, no, you're kind of a grown up.
Right.
And we stayed in New Mexico with, this is like one of the best stories because when my cousin Sarah was little and they lived in Wisconsin, their neighbors were really good friends with my aunt and uncle. And when we were going to go on that trip, our aunt was like, well, you got to stay with the Brenners. So like we went and stayed with these people that my aunt and uncle lived next door to in like the late 60s. And they were like just these adorable old people who were retired and had a really nice house in New Mexico. And they're like, yeah, took us to bookstores and like around town. It was so cool.
That
That's
could have had such a
amazing.
different turn to it.
No,
Oh,
they were
I'm
adorable.
so happy it was
Oh.
good.
Totally like
Because
a
they'd stayed in touch
horror
all those
movie.
years. So they were like, you have to stay with the Brenners. They're so
Yeah,
I
that was
love
the
it.
long game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of a classic thing that you don't get anymore. And that's too
Right.
bad.
They
Yeah.
lull you into believing that they're wholesome.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting.
And then I was really sad when I found out like sometime in my 20s that like, oh, Mrs. Brenner died.
Oh.
Because it was totally one of those things where he didn't seem like the kind who'd be like self-sufficient without her. So I'm sure he had to go live with one of the kids after that.
Mhm.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, that's too bad.
And I was still young enough that sleeping on a pull-out couch didn't kill me.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
And I
Flash.
slept on several of those when we stayed at people's houses. What was really fun though is when we'd go to people's houses, they always wanted to take us to their favorite restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
So and most of the time they'd be like, "Oh, we'll pay because you're just young kids." So I was like, "Cool." And I mowed lawns the summer before that to make money. And then the way we worked it was I just gave all my money to my cousin, and then she had a little notebook,
Oh,
or I had a
sure.
notebook, and then when we'd spend money, she would just subtract
Mm-hmm.
what I spent from my, and then at the end, she just gave me what was left.
Nice.
So when I went to like
Nice.
see my dad, I had like a little chunk of change, but I was like, I'm not gonna spend it. I'm gonna keep it and let my, like I'm gonna act like
Yeah.
I don't have any money.
Ooh.
What, you didn't do
shyster.
that? I never really did have money, so
No, I
mean,
I mean,
Despite my
at the end of
brother.
at the end of it all, I really only had like $50, which really
but that was
for a
lot of
14-year-old
money,
is a
yeah.
lot, but it's
Yeah.
like not enough to. We went. My dad and my stepmom and my stepsister and I went to the mall, and it was like I picked up some CDs that I was in my head planning to buy myself, and my stepmom was like, "I'll just buy those." I'm like, "Cool."
Ew.
She's like, "I don't get to buy you stuff very often." I was like, "Oh, all right, that's cool."
If you insist.
You bet.
Yeah, no.
She doesn't buy me a lot of stuff either.
True, it's true.
She's never met me. Would she like to?
She hasn't met me either, so that's why she
We
doesn't.
should fix that. 'Cause she's a hoot.
That's why she doesn't buy me.
Let's all go to Florida and stay at their house.
Perfect.
I would take you up on that.
We'll be like, hey,
So,
you seem
yes.
more approachable than the Brenners that I never met.
Oh,
even though they were
They were
fantastic.
wonderful.
That's really cute.
So that was my amazing summer
I
story.
love that story. Thank you so much. Carl, do you have anything that
I
you
was just
want to
thinking,
share?
I have a fun, like, being an only child. Like, you have different experiences with each of your parents. And I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of have this, like, beginning end kind of thing that's kind of neat. And then something fun for all of us in the middle, actually. The UP trip, of course, we're driving. Amanda, I'm sorry, I lived in luxury.
You had the whole back seat.
Yeah.
Like,
you had all of the spaces.
We had the first Jeep Cherokee.
Oh my
you know,
god.
that's
Oh.
and then
right.
and then we had the first Pathfinder. So
Oh, you guys were fancy.
I know. I
AF.
always had the whole back seat to myself because I was an only
Wow.
child.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, my brother
You
and
bougie
sister-
bitch.
I know. But I remember this one summer, I had gotten this Bart Simpson diary. Remember, like that
Ooh.
plastic and like the foam?
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember if it was like what it said on it.
I
If
had
it
a
was
C-
eating my shorts or something
Probably.
like that.
Probably.
I had
yeah.
a SeaWorld one like
Don't
that.
have
But
a
mine,
cow, man.
Mine wasn't.
Yeah.
Mine wasn't a journal. It was actually a photo album, but it was the same, like the
Yeah.
smushy cover.
And then did you have like that cheap luggage lock thing on it?
Yes.
no,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it was a photo album.
Oh, that's true.
I had like the girl version, and they all had the cheap luggage
yeah.
lock
Yeah.
that anybody could pick or break.
But I remember I wrote down like every town like we went through and like all the things I was kind of seeing like all the way up from Racine to Iron River,
Mm.
Michigan.
You didn't have siblings to fight with.
Exactly. And also there's me and there's two adults who are,
Yeah.
you know, and so, but I wrote down all that stuff and like names or funny like places I saw or whatever. And when we got to, I think when we got to Iron River, we always went to the Ben Franklin right away because I always had to get like a new toy or something. But Dad bought me an atlas, and so that was pretty cool. And then like I started like seeing like the map and how we got here and all that. And then after that trip, we got back and we went to there used to be a really cool flag store in town in Racine called Dover Flag and Map.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he went there and bought me a Wisconsin like book about like towns and histories and stuff. And it was pretty cool to like go through and like understand how places got their names. And so that was pretty cool.
Mhm.
And then, so it was funny because my dad, being a dad, because dads are dads,
Mhm.
right? He had discovered the fastest route to Iron River.
Oh, sure.
And my Aunt Shirley, who was his older sister, lived in Racine also, and that's actually how my dad ended up in Racine after Vietnam. She and her family, they always took the long way. So they always went through Green Bay.
Mm.
And so you'd kind of go like up and then around. But like we went straight up. And I was always like, my dad was always like, Shirley, you know, you and Joe should take the shorter way. And they're like, no, we love going through Green Bay. We love going through Green Bay. And I was just always like, what's the big deal about this? And my cousins would always tell me how cool the bridge was.
Oh.
And I was like,
They can go fuck right off.
what? And I'm like, okay. So like one time we did the bridge
Mm-mm.
and it was pretty cool.
No.
But the next summer we went to Bay Beach.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's
yes,
cool.
that is cool. You
I
have to go
will
over
say
that
this though.
Freaking bridge.
That bridge was not cool when it dropped like 4
No.
inches, 5 or several feet, was it?
I don't
Do you remember when the
I
Leo Frigo took a
hated
dip?
that fucking bridge.
Oh man, that was scary.
I was
Yeah.
okay with, weirdly enough, like I was totally fine with that bridge when I was like a new driver. And I was like, why do people not like bridges? It's just like any other road. And then as I got older, I'm like, oh my God.
They get old and scary.
No, thank you. I hate this.
So Bay Beach was awesome.
Mhm.
And like,
Yes.
I was by myself. I was a kid. So like,
It was fun though.
it was funny. Like my dad always said, like, because it was 10 cents a ticket back then.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad always said, like, ride until you puke.
Yep.
And so
Well, you could afford to.
you
at
could.
that
And
point.
still you can. I mean, even with
Oh,
the
yeah,
up,
it's like
they
a
went up
quarter.
and it's still like, oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's like a quarter a ticket, but
So-
and like some of the bigger, like because now they have like legit roller coasters.
Well, and it's so
are
nice.
like $1.
They really put, I mean, back then,
beautiful.
all that green space was not there. It was cement, like,
Mhm.
between the rides. I mean, it looked very temporary for being a very permanent thing.
I remember thinking it was like the biggest freaking amusement park, and that it was such
Yeah.
a long way to walk. Because I was with my older sister and my older brother and her friend, and it was really hot outside, and we were waiting for a ride, and like I was just like dying, and I kept asking like when we were gonna leave, and my sister's friend got mad enough, and she punched me, and I was just like, "Oh my God!" Like, because my siblings never like punched me in anger, so I was
So
just
funny.
like.
So that was kind of my cool, like, over my cousins, because they never stopped there. All those
They never
years,
stopped at Bay Beach.
all those years they went through Green Bay, and they'd never stopped there.
That's like,
Man.
did
And
you go
so-
to the wildlife sanctuary?
Probably.
The wildlife sanctuary is across the road, and it's free, and like you can get like little
Yes,
like
I
packs
remember
of
that.
food for the animals.
Yes.
That was a thing that we used to do in the summer, and I loved it.
Yes. That was really cool. I remember that.
We
'Cause
used
it was
to
like
bring
the pellets and stuff.
Mhm. We would bring our little
So
guy there
fun.
when he was little.
Yeah. And,
Ugh,
you
love
know,
it.
bringing that up, I
Yeah.
remember the boys' day
Oh,
when Ryan and
There's so
Carl
much
came.
fun.
It was Gentleman's Day.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Gentleman's Day Out, where Ryan and Carl came to Green Bay when I was still living there. It was me, Ryan, Carl, and Seth.
Mhm.
And we all went to Bay Beach and had a little boys' day. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
I remember that they went on that one swingy thing, and like a bunch of teenagers went up there, and the minute it started spinning, the one kid's phone went flying out. We're like, yikes, that's broken.
I don't remember what we brought Amanda home that day, because we were also like, we need to bring Amanda something.
I would assume cotton candy.
Probably.
Yeah, I remember we were
They
so
have the
focused on
best
that.
cotton candy at Bay Beach.
I think that's one of those things, like, I wouldn't leave
It
without
is
getting cotton
like
candy.
legit.
Yeah, it is really freaking good.
But yeah, that was really neat. And then
They just went because they liked the dumb bridge.
that's what I thought. I was like,
Lame.
what?
Did they like stop at Lambeau or anything like that?
I don't
Probably
remember.
not.
Probably not.
Huh.
I remember one time my dad made my Shirley stop. He's like, we're gonna meet there, because he was like, I want to take the kids in. So that was
Yeah,
pretty
well,
cool.
it's super fun.
But so yeah, but then we've talked. My dad got sick when I was 10 and then passed away when I was 12. So like there wasn't, those couple of years were kind of tough because like my dad was in a wheelchair and so we made pretty much just a straight trip up there and kind of just hung out at grandma's. But mom and I would still go out and do stuff, and we still went up there until my grandma passed away when I was 17. So there was a few years where it was just mom and me.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool because like we went to the Porcupine Mountains to see the Lake of the Clouds, which I recommend doing. Even if you're not going to backpack, you can hike. I think it's a paved trail too for part of it.
My parents
so it's a
took
little,
my niece
it's a little
there.
accessible. And then so up near the Houghton Hancock area where copper mining all was, and that's kind of like 75% of my family is from that area. There's a ghost town, mining town called Victoria. And so the Victoria mine was there. And I was probably 16, I would say. We stopped there and they were doing excavation, and there's like all the cabins and like their dream. And I love dreams like this, but where does money come from? I don't know. But they were going to build like the whole like mining town. And I mean, it was probably a dozen cabins and then a general store, that kind of thing, and a post office. Well, anyway, as they were excavating and going through all these records and I mean, just all this other stuff, we were talking to the one curator and we said who my great grandfather was. And he goes, oh, hold on. And he went and like got into the archives and they had check stubs for my great grandfather.
Aw.
And he goes, would you like one? And it was like the coolest thing. Like,
Nice.
so I just think those cool moments were neat. And I remember that first year after my dad died, Mall of America had opened because you mentioned Mall of America. Mom and I went, so it was the first time I was probably through Eau Claire. But we went to Mall of America and then we went over to Upper Michigan. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, it is cool, man.
But I got to take Ryan up there when I was an adult, and he got to meet Aunt Joyce for the only time.
I certainly did.
The famous Aunt Joyce.
You know, I've never met her, but I feel like I've met her.
Yeah.
Well, you never will.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately.
Well, right.
She was a sassy, beautiful, sexy grandma.
Yeah.
But
But for all the listeners that don't know, Carl can do one hell of an Aunt Joyce
Oh, yeah.
impersonation, and it's a beautiful thing.
I really want to go. I really want to drive across the Mackinac Bridge.
I do not want to drive across
I
that, but
do.
we are going.
Have you not driven across it?
I've only ridden because I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
And so,
We are going to Mackinac Island.
Did you
this
know-
Summer.
Yeah.
did you know that you can actually get someone to, you can like pay someone
Yes,
to drive you
there's
across the
some
bridge?
old guy that'll drive
Yeah.
you across.
Yeah,
and
if you
I'm
don't
like,
feel safe driving across
Yes,
the bridge
thank
yourself.
you. Like he drives motorcycles. He drives everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
It's a sweet gig.
you brave human. I don't even like the bridge in Duluth. That was a big deal when I went to go get Lily.
The Richard A. Bong Bridge.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, shoot. I
That's
forgot
a
how
beautiful name
awful
of a
this
bridge.
is.
You're
It's a
going
beautiful
over it
bridge.
this
Dark.
Thursday.
I know, but I'm not
Hey.
driving.
Fair.
Oh yeah, last fall when we went up for a wedding, that's when the tire almost hit me when we were on the bridge.
Oh no.
See?
Tire flew out of the back of the pickup truck.
No.
And
Oh,
Thank you.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
No, it was well, it was terrible, but it was
crazy.
amazing because it was like
I just brake tapped.
bounced, and Carl just tapped the brake, and it was just enough for it to go and like
Past
behind
us.
us and like off the bridge. Like,
Oh
well,
my God.
Good for
No.
you, man.
No.
No, thank
it
you.
was like just enough time to see it and go, oh, and Carl's like, whoop, whoop. Then it was over. I was like, oh, good, we
All right,
survived
so
that.
This is vicarious trauma. Thank you.
But okay, so
I'll be
not
dealing with that later.
Not
Oh,
the
sure,
island,
You're fine.
not the island. But so you're going to the island, so not the bridge. The island.
Because the island you have to get to by ferry, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Do you
don't know
have
what the hell we're
activities
doing.
planned?
I don't know. I'm going with my dad, the one who thinks we can just drive till we're tired.
Just so you know, like, is a great man, but when you go with you don't
No.
make plans.
No, you can try to make plans, but
Well,
he's going to be about
That
it.
must be a dad thing because like my dad, if his plans don't happen, he gets really
Oh,
salty.
He was,
Yeah.
But if there's something that you wanted to do and it's planned and it doesn't happen, he's like, well, you know, sometimes plan change.
Mhm.
Like,
oh gosh, it was
okay.
such a joy when we were in Spain
Oh, that was
because
tough.
my dad does not speak Spanish. And he had all kinds of ideas of things that we should be doing. Where he got these ideas, I don't know. But I had to look for things to like accommodate that.
For the context of for anybody in here who doesn't know, but also for all the listeners, this was when Amanda studied abroad in Spain, so she was in college. And when they went over there for spring break, I actually went with them.
So
So
did my aunt.
and so did Amanda's aunt, and her uncle was supposed to go, but that fell through.
That was a whole.
That was a whole ordeal. But did they know that I spoke Spanish?
My parents.
Yeah.
I assume my mom did.
I
My
was-
dad doesn't.
I was
listen to
too
half of
embarrassed,
what
and
I
I'm
say.
pretty sure I didn't tell them because I didn't want them to be like, "You go talk to him."
No.
That's
No.
fair. No, but we were riding a bus. It was why were we on the bus with my dad?
Which when we went to the other cities?
We must
Just
have.
talking about the UP
Because we
weed
never
getter.
rented a, we never
We
rented
didn't rent
a car.
so we were in a bus. And so we would get the bus schedule, which doesn't have anything other than a time. This is the place. This is the other place. Here's the other time.
Yeah.
And my dad was just like, well, what does it say, Amanda? I'm like,
Literally.
it says the time and the destination, Dad. And he's like, well, what should we do? Like, figure it out. And I'm like, what does it say? And I'm like,
Oh my
you are
gosh.
not getting, and I have
I
no
couldn't
more
deal with that
additional
tension.
information.
No.
This is not where I live. I don't know anything about any of this. Like, your guess is as good as mine. And then we were in the bus, and my dad, who loves to say he hates people, is one of the most social humans I've ever met. And he makes friends with everybody. And we're on the frickin' bus in Spain. He doesn't speak Spanish, but Amanda does. So he's talking to this man and making me interpret. And then I have to like interpret what that guy says to my dad. And I'm just like, what the hell? And I like got like mixed up. So I like started speaking Spanish to my dad. And I'm like, oh my God, like, could we just not talk to strangers?
So then you just interpreted that. Oh, sorry. He says he doesn't want to talk anymore, Dad.
No, because I'm too like,
You're too nice.
That is a genius move, though.
So
He
Mac,
says you're
I should have,
ugly.
like, they
Oh,
honestly don't even like you to talk to people. Like, I would smile at people in the town that we lived, and they would look at me like, what the hell is wrong with you?
no.
And I asked my host family about it, and I'm like, so do people not smile at other people? And she's like, well, do you know them? And I'm like, no. Well, then why are you smiling at them? to be nice, and they're just like, oh no, that's weird.
Different culture. But I want to hear more about what you're going to say about Mackinac.
I was gonna say Mackinac Island. I don't like. You're gonna. There's the fort. There's Fort Mackinac on the island, and that was like.
I remember pretending to churn butter and like wearing like a bonnet.
Yeah, because it's kind of that mid 1800s kind of thing.
And I had a very 1990.
There's the Grand Hotel
jacket.
So the Grand Hotel, and then there's no cars on the island, so like you go by bike or by horse.
Yeah.
I remember we did all the things because my mom's my mom. So we did biking and we went horseback riding. And I can tell you my horseback riding experiences mostly have been weird. And this one, my horse kept wanting to fall asleep. And I didn't know like that's what it was trying to do. So apparently when they like dip their head, they're like, I'm ready to lay down. And you're like, well, you gotta keep your head up, buddy. Like we need to finish the ride. And the best part is we always joke about it because we're like, remember at the beginning of this ride when they're like, do you want to go by yourselves? You let people go by themselves? Like, that's weird.
Your narcoleptic
So,
horse.
And you're like, I think my horse is having a stroke.
and then I don't remember what the name of the horse was that we ended up getting for our carriage ride. So, like, we're in this little 2-seater carriage, and they tell you, like, don't let the horse trot because it overexerts them. Man, our horse only had 2 speeds. It was either the trot or I don't think we're going anywhere. People are, like, passing us, and we're like, this is such a great adventure. My mom at the end, she's just like, okay, we need to, like, it's getting dark. We need to, like, come on. So we made him trot a little bit. And we're like, okay, that's enough. Like, we kept, like, gauging, like, is he okay? I'm like, man, those horses, like, on that island probably just get so overworked. Those, you know. But the dorky historian in me, though, on the mainland, Fort Michilimackinac is from, like, the American Indian War kind of era. And the cool history about that is the tribe that was around there at one time tricked the British, and they had this huge lacrosse game outside the fort.
Ooh.
And so they lured all the British soldiers out.
Come play with us.
And they stole the fort.
That's the best.
It is amazing.
awesome.
Such a good strategy.
And I think they had control of it for however long. But could you imagine just like...
Could you imagine having to go back to tell your people like what happened? And it's like, well, they invited us to play lacrosse.
Yeah.
And we really needed to let off some steam.
So,
And then the next thing we knew,
So there's like a lot of cool stuff around the bridge. So there's the island, and then there's that historical site too. Yeah, you'll have fun.
it'll be good.
Just stay away from the horses.
Just stay with the horses.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
I'm
Well,
not down with horses.
No,
I'll
we had
keep
to
my
ride
distance.
horses in Spain with my dad because he was in his horse phase.
Mhm.
That was a real fucking hoot.
Yeah.
We all had to ride the horses. And my dad's horse was behind my horse, and he had been taking horseback riding lessons, so he kept trying to be fancy with the horse. And the Spanish man, who is their leader, is yelling at me to tell him to knock it the fuck off. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm pretty sure my horse is going to start running, and I'm going to fall off. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And poor Gary's in the back.
I have to tell you,
Yeah.
when Mom and I planned Hawaii, I kept thinking about the horse thing, and I'm like,
We're not.
man, we're not going horseback riding.
We're too old for that shit.
But yeah, in that ride, my horse wanted to be in front of your aunt because your aunt rode in front of me, and my
And
horse.
my aunt was
so,
drooling
like,
over the Spanish
my horse
man.
kept biting her horse's butt, and then she slowed down, so I got in front, which is what he wanted, and then he was happy. But then
He got-
the Mr.
Spanish Caballero.
Yeah, he's like, you get in line that I put you in. I'm like, the horse doesn't want it.
As opposed to the German Caballero?
Yes. No, but my aunt was, ooh, he's so handsome. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, what are we doing
He
here?
was your stereotypical
very
like
rugged
he
cowboy.
looked like he'd come right off of a romance book novel.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know,
Yeah.
a romance novel cover.
There's such thing as vacation goggles, though.
Yeah.
A romance book novel.
Like-
a romance book.
Well, and like his wife
speaking
came
is
out
new
and
to
she
me.
was pregnant and she was like this cute pregnant lady, but like my aunt's like, ooh la la. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I don't even want to be here. And now I have to, oh my God.
Yeah.
There was just a lot going on
It
for
was
you.
so much.
It was a fun trip.
It was really fun. It was. But then I found that it was either my mom or my aunt. I don't know, probably at my dad's, prompting. They took a picture of the horse's dick, which was
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like,
Well,
Really?
as you do.
Yes!
I don't remember that.
oh my gosh, yeah.
Um,
It's in the vacation pictures, and I'm like, what the hell is that
I
about?
will have you know.
and they thought it was funny.
On my trip with my cousin, we didn't go to the San Diego Zoo. We went to the San Diego Wild Animal Park, and we there was like a.
That
like a
sounds
little,
like you're slumming it or something. It's just a generic.
I like it.
Okay, well, it had animatronic dinosaurs, so you can eat me.
Please tell me one of them wasn't like one of the ones that in the water, so part of it was in the water.
I don't think so, but the Triceratops was getting like attacked by the T-Rex, so like the Triceratops actually bled.
Oh,
It was neat. It was like,
I would
and
like-
like you could like walk up and like touch them. They weren't like
Ooh, it's like Jurassic Park.
kind of.
I wonder what that classic design is, because that's the one at the Milwaukee Public Museum too.
It's probably the same.
Similar
No.
designer.
Did they move at
I-
the Milwaukee
Yeah.
one?
I think I saw that when I was little.
Yeah, the T-Rex does like the.
That was probably when we went
But
to the
horse
Milwaukee
dick.
Public Zoo.
So my cousin and I went on this. You could go on this like train that went around the wild animal park, and there was like a little tour guide. And the front train that she was in was the quiet train. Well, we went on the first time, and we just sat kind of in the middle, and we were like, "Oh, that was really chill." And we did the rest of the stuff. We were like, "Let's go on that one more time. We'll go up to the front because we won't be loud." Well, that was of course the time that we saw a monkey chasing another monkey. Like, let's have sex, and she being like, "No, okay, fine," and him being like, So
Oh
I'm laughing my
my.
ass off. Then there's a donkey with a big boner, and I take a picture, and we're laughing at that, and we're trying to be quiet because we're on the quiet train. Then we go past a elephant with a boner. And the tour guide says, and you can tell this is a male elephant because of the size of his tusks. Because she knew we were trying not to laugh.
Oh, so this was her fucking with you?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, that's
Size.
awesome.
Of his tusks.
And I was like, dang, I forgot to
Clearly.
tell that story. And then we came full circle with the horse dick. And I'm
There
like,
we
oh,
go.
good. Perfect segue. Tell
we
my
go.
wild
Perfect.
animal park story.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh,
So somewhere I
goodness.
still have a picture of the donkey with.
Oh, good. Well,
The
I'm
boner.
sure I can find you the picture of the horse.
Yeah.
I was just appalled.
So if something doesn't say summer, it's definitely.
Horse dick.
Well,
Obviously.
summer adjacent.
There
It
was
spring.
There was
Yeah.
more horse dick in that trip because when we were visiting my aunt and uncle in Texas, we were in the truck and my uncle like went and like did something with the horses and he walked past the one horse and that's all he did was walk past it and the horse got a boner and we're like, Uncle Jeff made that horse horny.
Must have been like a teenager horse. Anything happens to a teenager. And
Something like that.
Obviously.
What'd that one hooker say? Makes my
You make my cha-cha
cha-cha
cry.
right.
oh,
Well, Gary, do you have any fun
you know,
stories?
I have a couple, but let me share one that actually I wasn't planning on sharing, but Carl brought it up and it just made me want to share it. So the big thing in my house was we went to Florida a lot. My dad really liked Disney, and early on when I was young, we would do road trips. So we did 2 big road trips to Disney, and I just want to reminisce about how different times were back then. So let me set the picture for you all. We're in a nice big old minivan. Actually,
Just rub it in.
the minivan I had
Brag
in
about it
college.
some
Yeah.
more.
That minivan.
The
Yeah.
one
The green one.
the one that we crashed
One we
in.
almost died in.
Yeah. It was that van. I'm pretty sure it was that van. Yeah. So what we did, because we were just driving straight through. So it's just a 24-hour drive, no stops.
Mhm.
We're gonna rotate drivers, which is just my mom and my dad.
My dad would never let my mom drive.
Oh no, my dad was cool with my mom
Shit.
He
driving.
still doesn't
Just had
really.
to pick out the slummy motels.
Yeah. So
He
our
picked those too.
brilliant
Just had to go
solution.
in.
Our brilliant solution is, well, the back seat technically has 3 seats. There's only 3 kids, so let's just take out the middle seat. And what are we going to put there? We're going to put 2 mattresses that are just kind of like your roll-up fabric mattresses,
Mhm.
and that's where we would sleep. So if you wanted to sleep, you would just unbuckle, go lay on the ground. If you wanted to not, you when we were going through cities, though, you had to
Yeah,
get up
well,
and
yeah.
buckle.
Buckle,
because-
yep.
Well, that sounds
otherwise,
safe.
you know, I'd be like laying there on my mattress, listening to my Walkman and being like, yeah, life is good.
Singing Shoop.
Probably. I want to say I made a mixtape of stuff I recorded off the radio, and I
Nice.
know there was some Bush on it because I was really into a particular Bush song around that time. But anyway, so yeah, that was the thing. Now, when my parents would switch on and off for driving, they didn't particularly ask, but I would like volunteer and be like, "Oh, Dad, you're gonna be driving at night. I'll stay up with you and ride with you." Or Mom, are you gonna? So either
That's
way,
pretty cool.
yeah. So I'd stay up with them and we just talk and keep them busy. And there's just so many things on that trip that were surprising to me because I mean, the United States is big. The South is still the U.S., but it runs a little different than in the North. So there was just things I wasn't used to. Like we were in Tennessee. It was middle of the night. We're driving up and it looks like the sun is rising. And we're like, the hell is up there? Because there's no city on the map. It was just this ginormous fireworks outlet. Just fireworks. And they had so many neon signs that it looked like a goddamn sunrise when we were approaching it. So I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. We have to stop on the way back there. And actually, my parents did. They stopped on the way back and we got some fireworks, but not on the way down because, you know, you're going to Disney. And then there was another shock of what's this place we keep seeing all over called Waffle House? And then there was like so many that I'm like, I'm going to count them. So I got a fucking notebook and I kept count of every goddamn Waffle House we passed. It was like up in the 60s when I think I lost count. And that's just one highway just going down. So,
And how do we plan vacations now, Gary?
oh, I love Waffle House. And if I'm going to go on a vacation, I want to go somewhere where I can go to a
Is
Waffle
there like
House.
a safest time of the day to go to a Waffle House?
Probably like real breakfast time.
That's usually when we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, it can be a little busy, but late night can be sketch, no doubt. Yeah, I don't know what it is about it, though. That first trip, because we kept seeing one, I'm like, we gotta go. And I think at first my dad was reluctant, but then we did eat it at a Waffle House, and I genuinely loved it. And I want to say that was the first time I had seen grits on a menu, you know?
Yeah.
So...
Was it the first time you'd eaten grits? Or
well,
just the-
I didn't even eat grits that trip. I was too scared to.
But
then
was that the first time you heard of them existing?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, you know what?
Because my grits experience involves the fact that in 5th grade we were learning about the South and we ate grits, and I was like, this is what they gave us in preschool and called it oatmeal. And I knew it was different than the oatmeal I had at home, but it was grits. It's funny that they didn't just say we're
Gotcha.
having grits today.
Probably be an uprising.
Interesting.
Oh, see, and my grandma's from Missouri, whereas my dad calls it misery.
Yeah.
And so I always knew about grits.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
I have a t-shirt
But
that says Missouri Loves Company.
I think I knew about grits, but I'd never actually seen it in the wild.
Yeah.
Right.
And so then I was like,
right.
ooh, grits. I'm pretty sure I was too chicken to try it. I mean, since then I have tried grits and I actually do love grits.
We have a collection of Waffle House mugs.
Yes, we do.
Nice.
Whenever we go to Waffle House, though, I will get cheesy grits. I like the
Mhm,
cheesy
me too.
grits. So there's just Waffle Houses, staying up with driving, thinking it's cool to sleep on a van floor, not buckled. You know, it's just that was the trip. I'm pretty sure where I brushed my teeth in a wayside in Georgia because I think I brought that up once in the podcast.
Oh, yeah, where it was like, is that breaking a law?
Yeah.
And we were like, no, because technically you're
Inside.
inside, yeah.
And I thought it was crazy because like there was like this black thing when you went into the wayside, and when I think it was either motion activated or a push button, but it would have like Ray Charles singing the Georgia song. So if it wasn't motion activated, there was some kid that just loved pushing the button. So you'd be walking by, then all of a sudden just Ray Charles would be like, Georgia.
And you're like, wait a minute. Is this season 6 of Designing Women?
Exactly. So it was a wonderful trip. We went, you know, when we got down to Florida, just awesome all around. It got to the point where we didn't really road trip like that anymore when we got older because, you know, just PTO so hard to get. It's just,
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
got to fly.
Yeah.
But I miss that because the trip really was half the fun.
Oh, yeah.
It really was.
Rest
Thank you.
stops are that weird combination of like people either really hate them because they're terrifying or people love them because like that's where you get all the weird sex.
I
I'd be like, how do you know which one? Like,
Which
one is which?
it's like maybe this person's
Is
gonna
there
murder me.
Are there markings on them?
I like them because they're free, Like,
I like them because they're free. I like them because there's a little bit that is kind of terrifying.
Do you love that they're all the same but all totally different?
Yes, I do. It's like a little mini adventure.
There are some in Wisconsin where it's like you go in one and then you drive a little longer and you go to the next one and you're like, I feel like I'm in the same place.
Yep.
My dad did not stop at nice ones. We stopped at the murder ones.
Was your dad like always hiding out from something? Like, did he think people were following him?
Oddly enough, I was
Oh boy.
not that, but like I wanted to go off of Ryan's, like the people that his family associated with are like wholesome, like you can stay with them and it'll be great. When there was one summer that we used to go to this man's house, like
I love this already.
I would
Was
just
he
be,
the pimp?
no, I would just be in the car with, like, because I would go everywhere with my dad and I would just be in the car and it was like some guy that my dad worked with and he would buy fireworks from him, like out of his garage, and they were illegal fireworks. And I'm like, why does this man have illegal fireworks and why are we buying them? So like we had that guy, we had another guy that like ended up getting convicted of like murdering a lady in the 70s that he worked with. And I'm like, Dad, what the hell? Like, stop attracting these weirdos. Like, I don't have a good feeling about any of this. So I won't stay with anybody that my dad like associated with because there's like some like perversion of some sort going on.
Okay, so how about we move along to our biscuit basket? How's that sound, everyone?
Ooh,
Delicious.
yummy.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so tonight we're gonna have just an extra good one because I feel like it. So, Ryan, do you have a good biscuit to?
I do.
Oh, please lay it on us.
Yesterday, Carl and I were driving and we stop at the stop sign. And as we were pulling up to the stop sign, I see something in the road. And then once we stopped, I realized, like, a phone just laying in the street. And Carl's like, I didn't see anything. I'm like, and by then I'm already out of the car. So I'm like, it was someone's phone. So then I'm like, I pick it up and get back in the car and we start driving. And I go, see, then you think, was that the right thing to do? Because what if they come back looking for it and now it's gone? But you didn't want to just leave it there and have it get run over. And when I like touched it and the screen came on, the first thing it said was, it seems like there's been an accident. Should we call 911?
Oh, no.
And I was like, exit. And of course, you can't unlock.
Right.
It's an iPhone.
So I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll take a picture of it because I didn't want to, but not of the back. I was very specific to not to like, hey, there's a phone. I'll just trust anyone who says it's theirs. I figured if I did a picture of it, then if they will tell me what the back of the phone looks like.
Right.
And I like no sooner put it in our little neighborhood Facebook group, and I'm going to, because I put in there first like if you think it's yours, DM me, and then I was gonna go back and change it to say like or comment here. And right as I'm doing that, the phone rings. So I answer it, and I'm like, hello. And they're like, you have my wife's phone. And I'm like, yep, I found it in the street. But I picked it up. And I hear the lady being like, is it broken? And I said, well, there's some cracks in the screen, but it's not as bad as mine is.
I mean,
And I've been using that for months. She's like, oh, okay. And then I told them, well, we have stuff going on today. So, but I'll call you when it's done, which I'm our age group, so did I call them? No, I texted them.
Well, obviously.
I told the guy, look, just give me your phone number, and then I'll put it in my phone, and then I can just get a hold of you guys. So then it was that thing where, because then we went out to eat, and we were like, they were going to meet us there, and I guess it was the lady talking on her husband's phone, because she's like, well, I won't have the phone with me, obviously, but I'll be driving a white, whatever. So we get to the restaurant, Carl and his mom go in, and I'm sitting on the bench, and then I'm like, this is what sucks. You do a good deed, and like now I have to wait 10 minutes before we can order because I have to. But then she came and I gave her phone, and she was very happy, and it was like, that was my good deed for the 4 hours that it took that I had their phone. So that's my biscuit. It's very buttery.
Oh, I like
Thanks for
it.
sharing.
And thank you for being such a good guy, helping out those people.
Thank you for being a friend.
Mhm.
I have a buttery and fluffy biscuit tonight.
Ooh.
Yeah, Mom listed her house today.
Yay!
So that's really exciting. We were over there mowing, and then we went to town, and there's the old mill has, I think we've told you about that before, has brick oven pizza, and they make their homemade gelato, and they have a big like cappuccino machine. And the old owners, they have a cabin still there, and they were out like playing with their dog and doing some gardening. So when we were leaving, Mom went to go talk to them, and I totally didn't realize they had moved there and bought the mill right when Mom and Bob had officially moved to town. So like they were like the OG outsiders together. So they were friends, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. Like, so it's just like, oh, thanks for being like friends with my mom all these years.
Yeah.
You know, and they're kind of like winding down their time in that town. You know, I think they love the lake home they have, but at the same time, I think just like everyone else, you know, you at some point go upkeep on 2 places, and I think they live in Appleton or Oshkosh, so they're driving,
that's a long way.
which 10's much bigger now, but
Yeah.
it's still, you know, so it's kind of bittersweet to kind of have that experience and get to talk to them. And I was like, oh, that was one of those moments where I'm like, I was supposed to be here today, I guess, because I needed to like find closure there.
Yeah.
And it was cool for my mom to see that. Yeah, so it's exciting no matter where it takes us, I guess.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, been a long year for that. Thank you all for all of your support. And
If anyone's looking for a house,
yeah.
I mean, we're not going to tell you. You got to go find it.
Middle of the state. Find it.
It's perfect. Well, my biscuit is that we had a birthday party for me yesterday.
Which was
Yeah,
very
we
fun.
did.
And it
Very
was
fun.
a Bob Ross theme, which is very, very nice. And as some people know, I really love whimsical taxidermy.
It makes us all so happy.
And up until yesterday, I've never had actual taxidermy until my friend Lisa got me a Bob Ross mouse.
Yeah.
And its name is Bob Rossum. What did I say?
I don't remember.
Hold on, I wrote it down.
Oh, good. Rosamosa.
Bob Mouserosis.
Yes.
Mouserosis.
Yes. Bob Mouserosis is very happily living on our living room mantle.
Yeah.
Just happy as can be.
You know, I got a funny thing to share with about that.
Do you?
Yeah, apparently this just in.
Oh, it's breaking news.
Bob Mouserosis is the pet of the week.
Oh, he's going to be so pleased to hear.
I bet he is.
God, he's going to be so happy. He's been waiting his whole life.
And
afterlife.
Because he's dead.
And he's so happy.
but you know, we had Lily was pet of the week, and
That's true.
she's passed.
Yeah, that's
so.
true.
So-
That's true.
Oh,
I feel
Well, that-
like
you
I
know,
need to
that's a really good
message the
point,
Etsy
you know.
seller about this.
Our listeners,
Yeah.
you know, like if you want to celebrate your pet
Yeah.
Dead
here
or
or
alive.
yeah.
We want to honor their memories and
Yeah.
all that. So yeah, and you know what, Carl? Now that you mentioned that, I think I'm going to put a post on the social media. But I think some of the limited responses have been because we've been saying, "Oh, send it to our email." Everyone still can send it to our email, which is Wicker Biscuit, all one word, no space, no, just wickerbiscuit@gmail.com. Yep, at gmail.com. Sorry.
I literally had someone like I said at Gmail, and that's what they tried to send it to, and they were like, "It didn't work." And I was like,
Okay. No, I'm sorry. You're right. I took that for granted that everybody would just assume there's
Yeah.
a .com. But,
and rightly so, because people should know that it's.
but, you know,
Well,
there's the
just in
youngins
case.
that don't have an email.
That's
so
true.
what are they
Yeah.
going to do? So what we have a Google form now, and you could submit via that, and it's already on our website. So if you go to the podcastahoy.com/Wicker Biscuit, but Wicker Biscuit's 2 words, it's got a little dash in there. You'll see the link on the bottom. So you know,
So send us your next
yeah.
one.
So if your hang up
It
was
could
I don't
even
have an
be
email,
taxidermied.
yeah.
Send us your whimsical taxidermy.
But yeah,
I'll
yeah.
be very pleased.
So that's what I got, and I suppose that's kind of my biscuit, maybe.
Ooh,
yeah.
biscuit.
No, that's a good like opening it up to. I mean,
Oh,
Yeah,
because there's great pet stories of your like childhood pet, and
Mhm.
there's funny
Aw.
stories of animals. And,
Yeah, and if anyone's not wanting to share, you know, if as long as it's appropriate, you know, if you say don't throw my name out or you know whatever, we'll keep it as. So I suppose if there's hangups of people being like, I don't want to put myself out there too much, just go use the link. It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
you can say that Bob Mouserosis sent you.
You know what? I think that might even bump you to the front of the line
I think-
if Bob Mouserosis had sent you.
I think that's going to be the new last name for a lot of animals.
Yes.
So I think we're going to wrap this up, but I got to ask everyone on here, all my guest panel, are you guys super excited for this summer?
Yeah.
All right.
Summer possibilities.
Oh, I think it's going to be a good
Yeah.
one.
I'm excited to wear my summer diamonds. Because some are diamonds and some are not.
That's right. Now you're cultured.
All right. So on that, we will say goodnight. Could I have you all say goodbye to the audience?
Bye-bye.
Good night, audience.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you later.
Thank you for listening to Wicker Biscuit, a Podcast Ahoy production. The producers of Wicker Biscuit are Courtney Holub, Ryan LeMay, and Gary Putnam. Assistant producers are Amanda Putnam and Lisa Rudd. Recording and editing is done by Gary Putnam, with Lisa Rudd as the assistant editor. Executive producer of Wicker Biscuit is Gary Putnam. Check out our social media for updates on upcoming pods and for clips and other media referenced in this episode. Links and information can be found in the episode notes. Thanks again from everyone at the Wicker Biscuit family.